Asahi Linux is a very interesting project that allows you to run a customized Fedora installation on your M1, M2, M3, whatever Mac computer. That would be minis, I would guess iMacs, and also MacBooks and MacBook Airs. So I did a thing and I actually installed it on my M1 MacBook. And that's what we're looking at now. As you can see, it worked. And apparently it works fairly well. The things that are covered here, the things that do work are listed here. You can go by, the actual product, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini, Mac Studio, etc. So mine is a MacBook Air, an M1, and you can see the display works, obviously, keyboard, and the backlight. Now, the backlight, you do have to go down to the tray here where the brightness is and adjust the keyboard brightness here. It was turned off initially, but I figured that out. Trackpad works fine. Gestures seem to work. Headset jack works. The microphone does not work, but I'm using an Apple headset with a microphone in it, and that works fine. Speakers work. Camera works. MagSafe works. Don't know about that. USB-C, have not tried that, but it's supposed to work. Wi-Fi certainly works. Bluetooth supposedly works. Haven't tried it. I assume it does. So this is pretty great. I mean, I don't know about battery life yet because I just installed it today. It seems to be less than running on the Mac hardware, which would not be surprising. But it certainly does work. I can prove to you that I am actually using if I could spell, would be helpful. So there you are, Asahi Linux. Now this used to be based on Arch Linux, and I think around 2023, late 2023, they switched to Fedora. Fedora sort of pulled them into their family, and it runs on Fedora Linux now. When you go to update packages, if you're updating them from a console, it's use yum. Seems to work pretty well. But there you are. It seems to use a lot of memory. I'm noticing here it's got 8.29. Now I do have stuff open. I've got Firefox and Kdenlive. Well, yeah, Kdenlive is running too. And I've also got OBS Studio. But even with nothing else running, just restarting it uses about 3 gigs of memory. So I'm not sure what that's about. If that's an optimization thing or that's just what it uses, unknown. So it certainly does work. It seems to work fine. The install process is not horrible, although it does. You can only really set it up as a dual boot because of the way the Mac hardware works. The secure enclave, I think, on the Mac, which is similar to the TPM and a Windows machine, precludes you booting something else, without Mac actually, with the Mac OS being there as well. So the steps to install it are you can see here, this is from Make Use Of. This is a little older, but it did work. The process took about an hour for me, from start to finish. So you basically run it from the terminal. You do a curl, these commands here, brings up a screen. You resize your partition on your Apple machine. I set mine to, I think I use 70% of the disk space for Mac OS. It guides you through. It's pretty easy. You just follow these instructions. You need to know your Mac admin password, which you should know anyway. You go down here, install Arch Desktop. You do get a choice of desktop environment. I went with the default KDE, which I'm not a huge fan of KDE, but it's fine. But you do get the choice. I believe you can install, if I remember rightly, I think you can install GNOME and possibly XFCE or something like that. So once you finish the partitioning, you can boot into the Mac startup process. So the Mac powers down. You let it, make sure it's powered down. Hold the power button down on a Mac to enter the entering startup options. And then you can select the partition you want to boot to. In my case, the Asahi icon is actually a Fedora icon, but otherwise it's the same as this. Once you've done that, you go through what looks to be a pretty normal install process with the installer here, and you just basically accept the defaults. You don't need to do this separately here. It's already included, I believe. And you reboot and you start right into Linux. I did do an update of the Linux install. It installed about 2 gigs of updates. And here we are. The only note, I was going to say the only issue, it's not an issue, it's just a note to make, is that it defaults to booting into Asahi Linux, which I'm sure you can probably change, but I haven't looked at it yet to see. It doesn't really matter to me particularly. But it will default into Asahi Linux. So if you want to boot into Mac OS, you have to shut the computer down, restart it using that method of holding the power button for a few seconds till it presents the startup options. Then you would select your Mac hard drive and it would boot into Mac OS. I did boot into Mac OS a couple of times just to make sure everything was okay and not corrupted. Seems to be fine. Nothing looked out of place. I wasn't getting any error messages or anything like that. So that kind of stuff is fine. Audio works fine. I'm recording this on it. I hope to use Kdenlive and do this video on it. I hope that works. If not, I'll let you know. But it's pretty impressive. So they basically reverse engineered the Apple drivers and things like that, because they can't use Apple. Apple's proprietary. They can't legally use the Apple drivers and so on. But they reverse engineered them, and the doggone thing works. It's pretty great. This has obviously been updated, so this is the latest. It's using the 6.12 kernel, which is pretty current. I think my Arch box uses 6.12.9, I think, or 0.10, something like that. So this is pretty recent. The install wasn't bad. You can uninstall it, supposedly. There is an automated process to uninstall Asahi, but I'm told I got the impression it's better to do it manually. And ultimately, if something breaks when you do it, you could always do the DFU process for the Mac, which involves using another Mac, connecting them together. It is a sort of emergency restore of the operating system for you. So that's always an option. It used to be you could, with the Intel Macs, you could boot from media or boot from the internet and pull an image down, but that you can't do that now, I guess. It's because the Apple Silicon Macs don't allow that. So, but this is pretty great. So I just wanted to show that to any of you that are interested in this. It does seem to work well. The process wasn't that hard. It took about an hour. And it seems to be working fine. The only thing I found so far that does not work, if you have stuff that's made very specifically for x86 systems, bear in mind this is ARM because it's the Mac hardware. So, for example, I have a thing called pCloud that I use, which is like a OneDrive sort of substitute, and I usually install it via an app image. So I tried to install the app image or set up the app image, and it wouldn't work. And it eventually dawned on me, this is not an x86 box. So I sort of checked around, and it seems like, it doesn't work. Now, pCloud does work on Mac OS, but it uses a DMG file, the actual Mac package. I don't know if there's a way to make that work in Linux. Maybe I don't care that much. I can always access pCloud via the internet. But this is pretty great. I'm quite happy with this. It's quite interesting. It comes with the normal sort of KDE stuff that you would expect to see. It's got the Office suite, the multimedia stuff. I installed VLC Player, OBS, and Kdenlive, and Audacity. Those are the only things I've really installed. It comes with Firefox by default, obviously. I did install AdBlock and my Bitwarden thing, so those are on there. But yeah, good stuff. Well done to the team that put this together. This is quite impressive. So I hope that was interesting for somebody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.